Hi, and welcome to Belmont Journal. I'm your host, Maribel Carvajal de Salazar. Today we're here with three high schoolers. They are gonna tell us more about their work. Welcome. Everybody tell me your names. Start from there.
Hi, I'm Isabel Law. I live in Belmont, Massachusetts, but I'm a senior at Phillips Academy.
Hi, I'm Sadie Taylor. I go to Belmont High School, and I also live in Belmont.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Archon Shah. I also live in Belmont, and I'm also a senior at Phillips Academy.
So this evening we are going to talk about all the opportunities these young students are doing with climate change. Tell us what inspired each of you to work with this. Let's start there.
So what first inspired me was that when I got into high school, I learned the first time about climate change really in my biology class, and I knew this upperclassman named Alice, and she was really nice to me and told me to join her club called Andover Climate Lobby. I didn't know what climate lobbying was at the time, but she told me how students can advocate for climate policy, and I got into it because of her, and now I'm really glad to be able to pay it forward to her leadership and lead the club now.
My family's always been really into going outside, hiking, traveling, camping, and so when I got into high school and I kind of learned what the climate crisis was, I knew that I had a role to play to help stop it, and part of that is through legislation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in second grade, my homeroom teacher had showed us a documentary called Before the Flood, and that's where I learned a lot about climate change and the importance of government action in response to climate change. And so coming into Andover, just like Isabel, I hadn't had a background in lobbying, but I was able to gain a lot more background because of all the opportunities there to join different organizations focused on that.
The three of you are part of MIKE. Can you tell us what that is?
So MIKE stands for the Massachusetts Youth Climate Coalition, and it consists of different youth-led high school clubs at our different schools in Massachusetts, and also environmental justice organizations across the state. So I think we have over 100 members who are part of our group.
And last week you had an opportunity to go to the State House. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, so Mike hosts this lobby day each February, which is an awesome way for young students to have their voices heard in the state government. And so we talked to Brownsburger and Rep. Rogers because those are the representatives for Belmont.
Yeah. And I can give a big picture of what we did. So around 400 students from across the state went to the State House. We separated into our groups to do last-minute planning for our legislator meetings. Then we walked from the Old West Church to the State House Dome, where we had a climate rally, and students gave their speeches. And then we dispersed back into our legislator groups to meet with, in our case, Senator Brownsburger and Representative Rogers. I think we had over 50 legislator meetings that took place that day. And Arjun can speak a little bit to his experience in the past.
Yeah, so I lobbied at the State House as well my freshman and sophomore years. I also do a lot of work with Citizens Climate Lobby, which also has a lot of youth that are involved. So we collaborate sometimes with Massachusetts Youth Climate Coalition, but our main goal is sort of the national level, lobbying with legislators on the national level. So over the summer, I was able to go with some youth to Capitol Hill in DC and lobby with a bunch of different legislators from Massachusetts, which was a really valuable opportunity to talk about some policies that are very important. And we're hoping this July that we have a lot of youth turnout. Currently working to recruit people for that, but it's another great opportunity, along with sort of more state-focused lobby initiatives to make tangible change as youth.
Yeah, and for Sadie, I know this is you're new to this. How the experience has been so far?
So I got into Mike because Mike is a collection of high school and they're in climate action clubs, and so the Belmont member graduated and she kind of passed the club down to me and the connection down to me. And so I went in this year and I was new to everything, but everyone was really nice, and I met a lot of cool people, and it was cool to see how even as a student I can make real tangible change in our state's written laws.
And how many members do you have in the club?
So the Belmont High School Climate Action Club is about 30 members.
And for Isabel and Arjan, that you have been doing this, how does it compare with the experience in the past and how you have been evolved over time?
Yeah, so for me, yeah, it's definitely a newer experience. Before high school, I had never spoken to legislators directly about issues that were important to me, particularly climate change related issues. I had sort of mainly done like recycling initiatives at my school. So having that opportunity has been really incredible. I've learned a lot more about policies that are interesting and important to me, like carbon pricing, connected to current issues, like including the Inflation Reduction Act. So I think it's been a great way for me to learn more and sort of make more tangible change on that sort of higher level.
Yeah, the way that I've seen my advocacy evolve over time is being like a learner that is doing like on the ground work in one meeting to being a person who's helping other people get involved. And so I think all of us hold multiple leadership roles, like in Citizens Climate Lobby, Massachusetts Youth Chapter, and Andover Climate Lobby, which is the club at my school, and then in the Massachusetts Youth Climate Coalition, all these different platforms. I've really appreciated the opportunity to pass on the knowledge that we've built as a coalition to help like hundreds of young people advocate for the climate policy at the State House. This year, 400 people was our record. I think it was double the years in the past.
That's great. And I can see, and we know that advocating can be overwhelming. What gives you the motivation to continue to be the change? You can start here now.
Yeah, so I think for me, definitely just I like to read the news a lot. I like to stay up to date with current issues. And so I think there's definitely a necessity, in my opinion, to do this work, to lobby, because politically I think there's a lot we need to get done. And I think that it feels like a very urgent issue that needs to be addressed. And so there's a lot of policies that I've read about, and just like sort of like the dire necessity for change, climate related, especially politically. A lot of books and articles that I've read definitely motivate me to continue doing this work, even though it's very challenging and very stressful, because there's a lot of change that needs to happen. So yeah, I think continuing to read, I think continuing to talk to the adults in my life about these issues, and seeing that there's other people and youth that are interested and want to make change is definitely reassuring, and definitely motivates me.
Something that helps me when, facing the climate crisis is just you need to rely on the other youth and people who have been there before to give you leadership, and they'll pass down the torch to you, and then once you become knowledgeable, you again can pass down the torch to even more new people, bringing them in to help fight. And also just the climate crisis is definitely very stressful, but you need to maintain hope, because that's the only way we can help end it.
Yeah, the name of the group that we're talking about today is Massachusetts Youth Climate Coalition, right? And I want to focus on the last word, coalition. I think that is, you have to bring, climate crisis is intersectional in its nature, so you have to bring scientists, researchers, policymakers, young people, people in medicine, all sorts of people to the table to be able to create those tangible solutions. And that can take the form of research, or it can take the form of advocacy. And I think, like you said, building those relationships with other advocates, but also with legislators. I think this would be the fourth time that I had met with Senator Brownsburg and Representative Rogers. And so when you have that relationship going, at the end of the day, I think politics is about relationships, and I think you can make a big difference that way through coalition.
That's right, that's right. Can you walk us through at Lobby Day? What was the preparation? What did you think it's going to look like? What you really got out of it? Tell us.
So maybe I could talk about the prep, and you want to talk about your experience?
Yeah.
Yeah, so planning for Lobby Day, or Lobby, it's actually a week-long thing. So we have one day on Tuesday, and then the rest of the week is virtual meetings that take place. And this is a culmination of weeks and months of planning. So it starts from when young people either write a bill or pick a bill and revise it and research it, all the way to emailing legislators' offices to set up meetings for a specific day. And then we call them facilitators. So the people who lead each lobby meeting need to create a plan, assign people in their group roles, meet before the actual lobby day, so that we have like a script that we go with, and we make sure everyone knows the bills that they're talking about. They know how to navigate a meeting, and we have trainings for that. And then the day of, we meet in the Old West Church, and then people will give like a rundown of the day and any last minute like tips on how to be successful in your meeting. And then students will have lunch, and then we'll walk to the State House and do a little rally and do speeches. And then we'll disperse around 1 to our legislative meetings that go all the way, I think, until 4 or 5. And do you want to talk about the meetings we were a part of?
So I like didn't have many expectations because it was like my first time, so I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. But if I had any, there would definitely be. It was really fun. Everyone was really friendly, which was very exciting. I exchanging ideas on everyone's local club and their successes and what they're hoping to do in their local groups. But the meetings with the senators, I was the role of storyteller, so I kind of talked about my experience with climate education and school food, which was the 2 bills we were trying to pass are the getting more climate education in schools and getting more fresh food for schools. And so both of the people we talked to in our meetings seemed to like really relate to my stories, and they both said to me like seeing youth like fighting for like stuff like this, it really inspires them to actually like pass these bills and co-sponsor them. So I really did feel like my voice was being heard, which was a big reason why I went.
That's great. And Mike just passed an incredible bill about the major clean energy bill. Can you, what do you think contributed to this success, and what lessons are you applying on this year?
Yeah, I also want to say like Mike is just one of the groups that helped pass it. We work with a lot of the adult organizations that have a lot more capacity than us, so they're able to like call them every day and like put pressure on the policymakers. But I like to think that like a lot of our youth played a role in passing that as well. And I think it's a combination of years of work. This policy didn't get passed in one day. It almost didn't pass, actually. So what ended up happening is that students and like other adults worked with legislators through an informal session to help the House and the Senate come to a compromise on this bill. And so it was a lot of collaboration between Mike and other adult organizations and also the legislators to make it happen. And I'm really appreciative of the legislature for doing that, and I'm hoping we can do even more because there's a lot more to be done.
Of course, and the work continue to get to going, and I want you to invite our viewers, especially our young Belmont residents, to join your organization, and how can they get involved? Tell us.
Yeah, so for me, it's really Citizens Climate Lobby is the main organization I'm part of. I do work with Mike as well, but I think that the best way to do that is to reach out to people in your climate clubs that might know about Citizens Climate Lobby. There's a lot of ways to get involved through chapters. So I'm part of the North Shore chapter. I attend meetings there. I built a lot of relationships with the adults who work there are very helpful in terms of connecting me to lobbying opportunities, et cetera, and have allowed me to invite other youth to those opportunities. There's also a National Youth Action working team that does a lot of sort of youth work on a national level, presenting to people. But yeah, and then in July, as I mentioned, there's a lobby day and conference. So I attended that this past summer. It's a great opportunity to sort of meet with legislators in person. And the best way to get involved, you can find that online, the July Lobby Weekend Conference, as well as learn more online on the CCL website. And so yeah, I would definitely say joining a chapter that is affiliated with your hometown, as well as sort of researching some of those lobbying opportunities.
And what about local?
I mean, I would say if you want to fight climate change, then joining an organization is the best way to do this, or starting one yourself. Most schools have climate action clubs, and they recently my club has been reaching out to other schools with inspiration from Mike to collaborate on stuff, trade ideas, share knowledge and success, which I think is just like the best way to do it.
And you're developing trainings to the students. What are you trying to reach with that?
So in order to be effective advocates, we have to be knowledgeable and educated about what we're talking about. We don't need to know everything, but I think the trainings come in two parts. One is like giving young people an understanding of the content of the bill and how it would work. The second is training them to actually advocate and how to navigate, because oftentimes legislators have their own jargon, and you need to be able to like understand how bills get passed. It's sort of like a mini governance, civics, like poli-sci class that we teach to students. And then to answer your previous question, I think like climate action can be like starting your own thing, but it can be as small as having a conversation or like reading an article. You can come to our Mike Week meetings, which are bi-weekly at 7 p.m. You just log on to the Zoom. It's on our Instagram. Anyone can join. You don't have to have a club or be part of a club.
And one thing I just wanted to add to that is the Mike Summit is another great way to attend workshops. Isabel and I ran last year, and I think she ran again, an En-ROADS workshop, which is essentially just a climate simulator where you can learn about different policies. Carbon pricing is one of those policies that we really emphasize. So the Mike Summit's another great way to get some training on the policy work and learn more.
And we did talk about it's not only about recycling and turn the lights off, but what can you tell our viewers to do something today about climate change?
I don't want to repeat myself, but you literally can join Mike. You can join our Slack channel, which will have all of the information related to policy or education and summits. Just in general, though, I think one thing that young people can do is think about the way that climate change impacts your life and talk about it with someone.
I would also say I completely agree joining organizations. One thing that I want to emphasize that I feel like isn't emphasized enough is just learning, is reading about these issues. I read a book called Uninhabitable Earth that really definitely changed just really affected how I saw climate change and the policy work and what is needed to get done in order to remedy some of these issues. So I think reading and learning, staying up to date with the news is another really great way you can sort of begin to take steps towards making change on a personal level. And it does feel broader than just recycling, turning off the lights. It's another great way, in my opinion, to get involved.
I mean, you guys said it all, but just spreading awareness, talking to people, finding the balance between making people uncomfortable and making people see the reality that we're in, but also, giving them hope and telling them, hey, there's a chance, there's a way we can change this. This doesn't have to be our future.
Thank you. I am really happy and proud to see 3 young high schoolers telling us what is important and the change that we can be. Thank you again for coming over. If you have any last word for our viewers.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
We hope you can get involved.
Thank you. That was it for today. Check the websites and let's be the change. Thank you. That was it for today. I'm your host, Maribel Carvajal de Salazar. See you next time.